Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So the past 2 months have been very hard, and I really didn't expect to go through what I've been through in the past 2 months, or 3 months actually, I should say. And I'm not going to edit this video at all because I want to make it as raw as possible. So if I'm pausing a lot or saying or can't find the words to say, you're just gonna have to bear with me. This is a very difficult and hard experience that I've went through, and not only have I went through it once, but I've been through it twice. And I just feel like I should share my story, and you know, if there's anyone that I can help, I would be more than willing to help that person, or you know, like talk to them about it. But I just feel like I need to talk about it. So in the past 2 to 3 months, I have had 2 miscarriages, and it really was nothing that I ever expected to happen to me or have to go through at all. My whole entire family has never had any miscarriages or problems during pregnancy that I'm aware of, and that has been very hard for me. And I know I'm still young and I have plenty of time, but it is so hard when you want something so bad and it happens and then it's taken away from you. It's especially difficult when that's happened twice. And unless you've been through it, you literally have no idea what it's even like. And I have struggled with anxiety and depression a lot in the past year, and I can definitely say that after the first one, I definitely hit rock bottom. Like the worst depression stage that I've ever been through, and I think that was mostly because my fiance is in the army, and 3 days after it happened, he had to be gone for a whole month. So I was at home alone, and I literally disconnected myself from the entire world. I didn't even want my mom to come over. I would barely reply to her text, let alone anyone else's, and that's very unusual for me because my mom is like one of my best friends, and I text her every single day. So that was a really difficult time for me. The second time was really difficult for me because I was a lot further along than the first time. Well, not a lot, but a few weeks further. And I think I was kind of prepared for it to happen, but I think I just kept an open mind. I still did hit a depression stage, but it wasn't as bad as the first time. But I will just go through the story real quick. On May 3rd, I found out that I was pregnant, and I had no idea that I would be. I took a pregnancy test by myself at our house and at mine and James's house, and it came up positive instantly. James was not home, but as soon as I got done taking it and it showed up positive, he was coming through the front door. So I took the pregnancy test and I kind of like threw it in the cabinet because I wanted to surprise him, and honestly I was in shock because I had no clue. And he knew I was acting a little bit weird. So I asked him to come into the bathroom. I just went ahead and showed him. I didn't do anything special. And I cried, he cried, we both cried for like 20-30 minutes. Well, we rent our house, and that day the rent was due. So James went over and paid our rent, and he overheard our landlords talking about how they had a 2-bedroom house for rent because they own several houses in our town. And James told them, he was like, hey, like, I want Brooke and I to check it out if that's okay. And of course they said yes, because we were currently only living in a 1-bedroom. So, you know, with just finding out this news, we were freaking out because it was gonna be crazy to just live in a 1-bedroom. So we came and looked at the house, and we literally moved in the next day. We moved everything. Then I had my first appointment. It wasn't with an OB/GYN, but it was with my family doctor, and she kind of gave me the rundown on what was going to happen, and she gave me a due date, which was January 3rd or January 6th. It was kind of in between those two dates, but anyways, yeah, I can't remember exactly, but it was between those two dates. And she told me that the safe date that I could have the baby was December 20th, which was very crazy because my birthday is December 21st and my fiance's birthday is December 19th. So that date was right in the middle, and it just felt like it all made sense considering we ended up moving into this bigger house, and then, you know, the due date was right in between our birthdays. It just seemed like a fairy tale, like it was meant to be. And I was very overwhelmed with all the emotions I was going through, but I was definitely getting more excited, and at this point we still hadn't told our parents. So it was like 4 or 5 days after my appointment was Father's Day, so we decided to tell all of our families. And we were most hesitant to tell my mom because I'm an only child and she still sees me and will always see me as her little girl, but she kind of always expected me to have kids later on in life. And so we were definitely most hesitant to tell her, but we told her first, and she bawled her eyes out and was so excited, which made everything like just seems so much better. And then of course we told my dad, and then we told my boyfriend's family. Of course all of them were just overjoyed and excited. Well, the day after that we told them, I found out that I had had a miscarriage through blood tests. My levels had went down, and it was really hard. you really don't get, I don't know that you ever get over the grieving process. There's some days that I can talk about it, and there's some days where I just say miscarriage and I literally bawl my eyes out. So anyways, so I had the miscarriage. I think I was only 5 weeks, maybe. So the second time around, James and I went to Florida for a week, and I was eating a lot, like ridiculous. It was crazy, but I didn't think that I was pregnant again. So we decided to take a pregnancy, well, I decided to take a pregnancy test the day we come back, and July 8th was when I took those pregnancy tests, and I took 2 of them, and they both came up positive, like fast, and a lot darker than the first time. So I went ahead and texted my mom and told her, and I went ahead and went back to see my family doctor so that she could help me figure out who to go to, because I did have some issues with the first OBGYN, so I wanted to switch. So I talked to her about that. We made the appointment, and she was concerned because we did some blood testing because of the miscarriage before, and she wanted to test my levels just to see how they were going. Well, they weren't doubling like they should have been, but they were still a lot higher than what they were the previous pregnancy. So she was still a little concerned. They thought that I might have had an ectopic pregnancy, which is where the egg doesn't get to the uterus and it starts and it attaches to your tubes. And so in that case, I would have had to have had a shot or had to have had surgery, because if you just let it grow, it would erupt in my tubes and cause internal bleeding, which can be life-threatening. So she went ahead and put in an order for me to have an ultrasound. So I went to the hospital and they did an internal ultrasound, and of course whenever they put it you know, and the baby was for sure in my uterus. It was not in my it was not in my tubes. So that was a huge relief, and it was crazy just to see the little thing on the screen, and it didn't look like a baby yet. It just looked like a little blob, but still we actually got to see the heart beating, and they actually measured the heartbeat, and it was 114. So I had my first OBGYN appointment the next week, and they did all kinds of blood tests. They did urine tests, they did blood tests, they did a swab. Sorry, they did a swab, and all my tests were perfect. Sorry, I need to take a drink real quick. All my tests came back perfect. My levels were perfect. Everything was just perfect. And they also did a internal ultrasound again, and this time the heartbeat was 140, and you could actually see the legs and hands start to grow. I was 8 weeks. So 3 weeks further than I was the first time, and we actually got to hear the heartbeat and everything. So the next day, well, no, after the appointment, we decided to publicly announce that I was pregnant, because we felt very certain that this was going to be our rainbow baby. And considering we heard the heartbeat and all my tests were perfect and everything like that, we decided to go ahead and announce it because we just couldn't handle it anymore. So we went ahead and decided to tell our family first. We called them. Since we did something special the first time, we just decided to call them because we couldn't wait. And then we made posts on our social media. And the day after, I started bleeding, and I kind of knew that it was going to happen at that point. I just had that feeling, but everyone else was trying to stay as positive as possible. But it was just frustrating because I just knew it was going to happen. And so I just kind of kept to myself. The bleeding went on for, I think, like 4 days before it got bad. And one night at about 11 o'clock, no, it was like 10 o'clock, I started getting really sharp pains, and my bleeding was coming progressively worse. So I went to the ER, and I went to the ER with my fiance, and there was only 2 other people in there, but it took them over an hour to get me in. But as we're sitting there, I can just feel the blood literally just coming out, and it was really hard to know what was going on and James think that, you know, everything was gonna be okay. So I felt it coming like a lot more. Like, it was crazy. I could just feel it coming out. And I went to the bathroom while we were waiting, and as soon as I sat down on the toilet to use the bathroom, it was just like a waterfall of blood, and then I could feel something down there, and I felt it come out. And when I looked into the toilet, it was filled completely with blood, and there was a blood clot about that big that came out, and it had tissue attached to it, and what looked like was probably the baby. And, you know, it was at that point that I knew that I had just had another miscarriage. The blood, there was so much blood. I was bleeding through my underwear, through my leggings, onto the bed sheets at the hospital. There was blood on the bathroom floor and I cleaned it up. After I got out of the bathroom, I just went to James and bawled my eyes out and told him it just happened. And so we come back home, and of course I was upset. I was having really sharp pains, like the worst pains I've ever felt in my life. Still bleeding. I continued to bleed for like a week after. But the next day, the ER doctor scheduled me an ultrasound. So we went to have the ultrasound just to make sure. And of course they did another internal one. And as soon as everything popped up on the screen, the baby was gone. I'm trying not to cry. It's really hard when your biggest dream has always been to be a mom, and it seems like everyone around you can just get pregnant like it's nothing. And it's just really hard because you want something so bad and everyone else, it seems like it's just having it easy. But after these experiences, I've had a lot of time to really figure out exactly what my future looks like right now. And James and I have sat down and talked about waiting to try. We're gonna wait a couple or a few years. Right now our main focus is the wedding and me finding a job that I can be stable with the next few years, and just kind of figure out what I want to do with my life. Obviously my dream job is to be a YouTuber, but right now I need something to kind of keep my mind off of things. because sitting at home all the time just isn't helping me mentally. But I have an appointment in the next couple of weeks with the OBGYN to see if there's anything wrong with me or if these were just too unexpected things happening to me. But right now I don't even want to think about having kids, because after the past couple of months it's been super hard on my body and super hard mentally and emotionally that I just can't even think about going through another miscarriage again. So right now kids are not on my agenda for now. It's still very hard to process what I've been through, and it's not easy for me, it's not easy for James, but he has been my rock through all of this, and without him I don't know where I would be, because he has definitely pulled me through and tried to make it as positive as possible, even though I know he has been breaking too, but he would never show that in front of me while I've been going through my emotions. Not because he can't talk to me, but because he's not like that. He just doesn't really show his emotions to me if I'm going through something emotionally or mentally. So I hope if you're going through this that you do find the light at the end of the tunnel. If you do need someone, I'm here. It's definitely not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. But I just want you to know, if you are going through this, or you're going through fertility problems or anything like that, I'm here. And I just pray for anyone that is going through this, that you get that little bundle of joy that you're wanting, and I hope that you never give up on that. I think that's all I really have to say. This is a really long video, but I needed to make it. Hopefully I'll start making more videos. It's kind of hard right now because my mental health just isn't the best, so I haven't really been in the mood to film. But maybe after this video I will kind of have a little bit of relief and motivation. But I think that's all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys sometime.